Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Again, forgive me if this sounds or looks a little bit different. We're still adjusting things here in the new studio, sound and green screen wise, so bear with me on that. Today we're talking about, or we are discussing, the Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad 2016, but The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, 2021. The Suicide Squad is a 2021 American superhero film based in the DC Comics Suicide Squad's based on the let me start that again. The Suicide Squad is a 2021 American superhero film based on the DC Comics team Suicide Squad. Produced by DC Films, Atlas Entertainment, and the Safran Company. Set and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. It is a standalone sequel to Suicide Squad and the 10th film in the DC Extended Universe. It is written and directed by James Gunn, and it stars an ensemble cast of Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, the voices of Sylvester Stallone, or the voice of Viola Davis, Jai Courtney, and Peter Capaldi in the film. I don't want to give too much away yet if you haven't seen the trailer of this film yet, so I want to give a little bit of background. James Gunn, everyone knows James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy. He's known for bringing in ragtag teams of groups of people saying, all right, this is what we need to do. This is how we bring in a ragtag group of teams, criminals, for Guardians of the Galaxy's sake, and make them relevant, make them cool, make them hip, make them accessible to the general population for, everyone to understand who they are. And after his success on Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, I think 1 is a little bit better than 2. He was given, a little bit more free reign with regards to bringing more psychedelic stuff to the screen. So that's what he's going to do probably for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But in between all of this, he is coming to the DC extended universe produced by Warner Brothers. So if anybody doesn't understand the dynamic, it's basically, there's the big heads of the house. You have you have Disney, that is owned by you have Marvel, that is owned by Disney, and then you have DC, which is basically owned and run by, I believe it's owned by Warner Brothers, and they're responsible. They're different houses, if you understand how the movie making industry works a little bit. But anyways, James Gunn has gone from working with the Disney Corporation all the way to working with the Warner Brothers Corporation. And I believe that it's for the better. I mean, based off of seeing the 2016 Suicide Squad film, my quick reaction to it, it's been quite a few years since I've seen the full thing. But in essence, everyone was super excited about the original Suicide Squad 2016 movie, and it was a marketing success. It became so popular from the marketing agency that, or I heard it was the marketing agency, or it was the marketing department, whoever was in charge of the marketing of the 2016 Suicide Squad was so good, it exploded with this amazing Bohemian Rhapsody Queen soundtrack, and the quick cut editing and all of that. Everyone was loving the colors, everything. Everyone was loving the visuals. And I gotta say, aesthetically, the first Suicide Squad does have all of those factors when it comes to the marketing. I think that it was a marketing success for almost too much of a success. So what I heard is they were given such a good feedback on the original Suicide Squad trailer and movie that they gave it to that company that cut the film trailer, and told them, hey, we'll give you the entire movie. And from there, the Suicide Squad 16 movie became kind of some people would say it might have become a botched project because of development hell. It sounds like David Ayer might have had his movie kind of taken away from him. Now, I can't say I enjoyed everything David Ayer was bringing to the table. I got to say there was a lot of things that I wasn't too crazy about with the aesthetic of the Joker, the kind of cholo Mexican gangsterness of it all. That was kind of unnecessary. But I will say that most of David Ayer's movies generally, um, kind of have that little realm about them. A little bit unnecessarily, but apparently that's the kind of culture he grew up in. Okay, that's fine. The problem with the original Suicide Squad 2016 for me personally was the click play Spotify-ness, top 40 songs just being repeated every other 5 minutes, and there felt like there was reintroductions to characters that we had already met. So it felt like they were repeating storylines. It felt like too many cooks in the kitchen. There was a lot of mix mashing of things going on with the original Suicide Squad. So um, there, but the thing was the casting. I think the casting and the heart behind it. I mean, we had Will Smith as the original as Deadshot, and Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I think this was her first introduction as Harley Quinn. I think let me confirm that, but she was a breakthrough after Wolf of Wall Street, and when she became um, you know a box office success. Let me see. Birds of Prey. Filmography. Okay, let's see. Um, yeah, let's see. So she was in Suicide Squad 2016 as Dr. Harley Quinn Quinzel and Harley Quinn. I think that was the first time she had, yeah, shown. Okay, so Harley Quinn was a success. I think overall as a complete box office hit from making money, the original one with $175 million made 746 million back in the box office worldwide. So it wasn't like a failure, but from a storytelling perspective, it was ripped to shreds. And most of it felt like because of the story, like the story didn't really make much sense to even have them all come together. They are the reason that there was a problem in the first movie. If they weren't released in the first place, there wouldn't have been a problem. So in comparing the first Suicide Squad 16, amazing casting, breakthrough characters, um, story lackluster, writing not so great, so marketing it was kind of good. So like I said, it's a mix mash of things. It did make money, so it's not like that wasn't happening, but DC wasn't exactly happy, and I don't blame them after all of that. So just kind of giving you a little bit of a background, they basically gave it the same sheen. They took some of the best elements of the first Suicide Squad and they brought it to James Gunn. Like I said, the guy that's known for all the psychedelicness from uh, Disney. So I don't want to give the plot away yet. Oh. Okay, so essentially, ragtag group of people are sent in to destroy something or steal something that is of importance, and they are expendable, so they are at risk of dying at any time. So that main plot is continued on through this one, and I do believe that you need to see the original Suicide Squad to see that, to fully enjoy the second one. Not that it's mandatory, but it's much more enjoyable just from seeing kind of, there is backstory in the original Suicide Squad. Might go out on a limb and say that people are gonna mostly side with the 2021 Suicide Squad, but there's going to be a cult following of people that still enjoy that original film. And after seeing the second one, because this second one is kind of in more of a cruel nature, and like more crude humor, I can see people maybe pulling away from it a little bit. If they're not engaged in the James Gunn type of style of humor, um, laughing at people and kicking them while they're down kind of thing in a way. I feel like that's kind of his style of humor in a way. Um, then it might not be for you, but otherwise, I think the majority of people are going to really like the 21 Suicide Squad. So let's give a little bit more backstory. David Ayer was set to return as the director for Suicide Squad sequel by March 2016, but in December he chose to develop a Gotham City Sirens film instead. Uh, Warner Brothers considered several replacement directors before hiring Gavin O'Connor in September 17. He left by October 18, a month later, and Gunn was hired to write and direct the film after temporarily being fired by Disney and Marvel Studios as the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy uh, 20, 2023 movie. So I kind of forgot that this movie might not have happened if James Gunn didn't release those or didn't have those tweets that got him in like hot water. He had like tweets that apparently were talking about, they're like maybe a little bit out of touch, um, not so great uh, jokes that didn't age well. I don't really have them off the top of my head, and I don't really want to have like a personal say on what he should or shouldn't have said. I don't know exactly if he should have been fired for it because eventually Disney just said, "Oh wait, that wasn't really that big of a deal because people have done a lot worse things than told a couple of bad jokes," and tweeted a couple of bad jokes. People have said a lot worse things on Twitter than what he said. But it's kind of interesting because it seems like he was picked up almost immediately in between this little debacle. So it's like DC, Warner Brothers say, we'll scoop that, we'll take some of that crudeness. We don't have to be super family friendly like Disney and Marvel. And, Disney and Marvel, they're trying to expand from that. I'll give them that. Um, so, um, he drew his inspiration from war films, Gunn did, and John Ostrander. Ostrander's 1980s Suicide Squad comic, and decided to explore the new characters and a story to separate from the first film's narrative. Some cast members do return from Suicide Squad. Filming began in Atlanta, Georgia in September 19 and concluded in Panama, September 2020. Wow, they filmed this right before the pandemic came to be. Um, the Suicide Squad was released theatrically in the UK on July 30th, 2021, and released in the US on August 5th while streaming on HBO Max for a month, starting on the same day. And we all have heard about the Scarlett Johansson thing where she's like suing Disney for, not getting, I guess, kickback for the $30 charge that they're doing on their Disney Plus film. And she's mad that Black Widow's um, movie has gone down a little bit in the box office. Actually, I think it went down the most out of some of any of the Marvel films. But, you got to take into consideration the fact that she's on it's during the pandemic and stuff like that. But I do got to say, my only take on that is, she's had to have been planning this for months, or her legal team has had to have been planning this for months. It's not just something they just spurred on the moment, especially with these like emails. They said they've been talking about this Disney Plus release versus a theatrical solo release. It begs the question, why wasn't this figured out sooner? It's kind of bad PR for everybody. So, yeah, the cinematographer is Henry Basham, same guy as that. A lot of the same people are returning with James Gunn from other movies. This is the Guardians of the Galaxy cinematographer, the Legend of Tarzan cinematographer. John Murphy, the guy that did the music. He's mostly known for some not many movies in the last few years. I'll say that the last 10 years he hasn't done anything. 11 years, in 2010 he did the Kick-Ass and composed it with a couple other guys. He was on did the movie for Armored. The Last House on the Left, 28 Weeks Later, Sunshine. It's not exactly the first guy I would have thought to put on the music composer track, but that's just me personally. Basic Instinct 2, Miami Vice, 2006, 28 Days Later with Danny Boyle. Like I said, this guy seems like he has like a much different style of music than I would have guessed for anybody else. Yeah, and he's been doing this for a while. Um, all right, so let's hop into the spoilers, and well, let's talk about a little bit about the premise for the movie first. The premise for the movie is in the film, a task force convicts are sent to destroy a Nazi era laboratory. Um, and I'm not going to read the rest because the rest is kind of spoilery. Um, but yeah, so it's just like a task force, convicts. They're bad. They got to go destroy a Nazi laboratory, like I said. And it's pretty much that simple. The thing is, I do feel like the movie's kind of divided into like three different halves, and the first and third half are my favorites. The middle half can kind of dwindle a little bit, in my opinion. What it was, this movie, 2 hours and 10 minutes, yeah, 132 minutes. Um, Plus, there are two stinger scenes, one at the ending, and then one at the very, very ending. So just got to say that up front. So if you have not seen the superset ending of this movie, be sure to go back and check that out for that. And let me see. Let me say this. This is what people were saying on Wikipedia and some other things. It says it's received positive reviews from critics who praise Gunn's direction, the visual style, and irreverent humor, with many noting it is a significant improvement over its precedent. I gotta say that I thought it is better than the first one. Not to say that the first one has a leg on it, but the first one does have a level of heart underneath it, I feel. And this was kind of like what we were talking with the Zack Snyder thing of, uh, you know, if anyone's going to get money to make their movie again, who should it be? I think that one of the first movies that I had thought that should have been made under David Ayer's direction should have been, Suicide Squad, or one of the movies that should have been given money back should have been Suicide Squad, because they were the ones that shot themselves in their own foot. It seemed like they had a good plot, they had a good script, they had a good composer on it. It didn't sound like they just were pressing play for every song that was popular during the day, because it dates the hell out of it. It makes it feel like the movie, is stuck in that era for of all time. It has no lasting power, unfortunately. The characters might have lasting power, but the original, the feel of the first one just feels like it's stuck in 2016. So, yeah, I would. The original Suicide Squad did have some good things going for it. This one is better in comparison. It only got 10. The budget was $185 million for the Suicide Squad, which is only $10 million more dollars than the first one. So they essentially just did a full soft reboot, gave them the exact same amount of money, and did it again. I'm interested to see how it's going to perform, considering it's going to be on HBO Max, and you don't pay extra for that type of stuff. You just do the subscription. So if it can, I don't think it's going to be able to break $1 billion, but maybe with the merchandising and stuff, it'll be able to do that type of stuff. So, anyways, yeah, casting, acting, all of the direction, the action, all of that works. Cinematography, I thought, was apt. It was kind of had the glassy flair. It wasn't as psychedelic and spacey as Guardians of the Galaxy 1 or 2 is, but and I kind of wish that it did have a little bit more irreverent colors that were going all over the place, but that's just me personally. Um, Nothing too crazy. So yeah, I would have given about a 7 out of 10. Maybe being if they could just shave off a little bit of the time. I love King Shark. Some of the humor that he has to do and perform Sylvester Stallone's. Basically, this is Sylvester Stallone's Groot character. Who, if anyone hasn't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Big Groot, he's a tree character, I guess, and he like talks and stuff like that, and he Groot is different ages in different parts of the Marvel timeline. So sometimes you get old Groot, sometimes you get baby Groot, sometimes you get like teenage Groot. And so I can kind of feel them doing the same thing. They're gonna cuten up King Shark, and they're gonna sell the hell out of him because first of all, the lines of like num num and like having all of this like he's kind of like a big baby. He feels like somewhere between of being like between 2 and 3 years old, barely being able to have a full sentence. But he's also terrifying with the violence that is happening on here. He's just like tearing people apart and eating people. Like he doesn't know good or bad. It's not even like he's like really a bad guy in this at all. But to say all this, he's going to be a breakout hit. Harley Quinn's obviously a breakout hit. We got Joel Kinnaman. I really liked Joel Kinnaman in The Killing, and I don't think I've liked him in anything else to that degree as much since. I was a little bit deterred from Altered Carbon because I was like, I turned an Asian guy to a white guy. I was like, what the hell? But I wasn't feeling that. But Joel Kinnaman in this is one of my favorite things I've liked him in since The Killing. Another breakout in this is John Cena. We'll talk a little bit more about him. John Cena is definitely going to be a breakout in this realm. He's got some of the best lines, the funniest lines, alongside with the visual gags that are happening throughout this entire thing. And of course, Idris Elba is just supposed to be like a badass. Basically sci-fi version of James Bond in a way. I mean, he's a freaking badass. I mean, you can't really say anything bad about him. He's Black Superman from Hobbs and Shaw, and it feels like he still is Black Superman. I can't go against that. And so yeah, we had what was the other? I don't think I have anybody else's name on here, right? I can't find anybody else at this point. So yeah, I enjoyed this cast. A lot of fun, all the good stuff. Let's hop into the spoiler section. Patreon.com/LuckyDog for full spoiler section, full review, all that good stuff is on there. LuckyDogPodcast.com also has the full library reviews. It has all the links. It has all the good stuff. Has all the social medias, how you can link up with everybody. Thumbs up. Let me know how I can improve. Let's improve the community. Let's figure out how we can have better podcasts. Let me know what you thought about the Suicide Squad and the review, obviously. Thumbs up. If you do a thumbs down, just let me know why, because it's kind of irreverent if you don't. It's like, it's like, if you didn't like it, well, was it the review? Was it because I was ugly? Was it because he didn't like me? So, helpful reviews like in the comments definitely help. So, let me hop into the spoiler section for the Suicide Squad. Task Force X, a squad of inmates from Bellerive Penitentiary, are sent to the South American island nation of Corto Maltese after the government is overthrown by an anti-American regime under orders from the intelligence officer Amanda Waller, which Viola Davis comes back and reprises her badass role. She is too good for this movie. Is it possible to be too good of an actor for a movie? Because she's too good in both Suicide Squads. And I'm pretty sure they just shot her stuff in like 1 or 2 days, so she's getting pretty nice check for that. Because she's in one room like the majority of the time. And we'll probably talk about the original Suicide Squad in spoilers as well. Just considered this is like a sequel, then I would have assumed that you would have seen the original Suicide Squad as well. Yeah, so Amanda Waller. So the squad is tasking with destroying Junaham, Nazi or Unaheim, a Nazi era laboratory that holds a secretive experiment known as Project Starfish. This was what I didn't want to disclose in the spoilers earlier. A team led by Waller's subordinate, Colonial Frick Flag, is almost entirely wiped out by the Cordo Maltese military upon landing, but this allows a second team comprising Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Nanau, uh, Polka Dot Man, and Ratcatcher to enter the country undetected. So let me just give this kind of like how this starts. We start from the perspective of um, one of James Gunn's main guys from back in the day. I don't have his name, and the redneck guy. Oh my God, we start with him with the fucking long hair. Um, I'll have it right here. Michael Rooker. We have Michael Rooker starting out. I don't have his character he's playing, but it is ridiculous. He is playing long haired ass dude. So as I was saying, Michael Rooker is found. Um, so as I was saying, Michael Rooker is found um, almost. Sorry. So we begin with Michael Rooker at the beginning of this, and then we follow an entirely new team that we're maybe kind of thinking that this is gonna how it's gonna start off. This is who it's gonna be with. We know we got Harley, we got Rick, we got um, Weasel, we got all these crazy guys, and they have all these ridiculous and kind of almost stupid powers at certain points. Um, but it's kind of funny just to see them all just get obliterated at one point. But some of them are like really fucked up in some scenarios. It's kind of the boys style humor, if you know what I'm talking about. Um, from Amazon, it's kind of that crude explosion, body parts exploding, heads exploding, all that type of stuff. It's a lot to handle in some scenarios, but generally it works. My only problem with my biggest quibble with this movie would probably be the way that we'll watch something and then we'll rewind. It'll stop to say, all right, 5 minutes before, 30 minutes before, 3 days before. There's like 5 or 6 scenes where we're watching the current time of what's going on, and they'll say, okay, 3 days before, 8 minutes before, 10 days before, 30 minutes before. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Can you just tell me a narrative that is in a simple storyline in a fashion that is kind of going straight in a straight narrative? I know that they've got the Tarantinos of the world trying to change all these different sequences, but to me, it felt like it made the movie longer for unnecessary reasons. I enjoy seeing different perspectives from um, different places, kind of seeing where this person was 5 minutes before and how that's going to affect what we're doing now. I like that, but I don't need that like 6 times in a movie. I felt like there was too many times that this movie stopped to say, wait a minute, but what happened 5 minutes before? That's me personally. That was me saying, we're an hour into this movie and we've done like 4 or 5 flashbacks, and it's jumbling my head. I watched this movie in 2 separate sittings. I watched the first hour last night and I watched the second hour this morning. And I gotta say, I could have been sleepy, I could have been tired, could have been grumpy, could have been anything. But that first hour didn't sit well with me as much as the second hour felt like smooth sailing. Like it felt like the movie really found its footing once it found its antagonist, because we're kind of like lollygagging from the point of, all right, we start with a new team. Oh, that's not our team. Now we got to start with our team again, and then reintroduce all the single one of those people kind of in the same sequence. Bloodsport, Peacemaker, now Polka Dot Man, they all have these different openings and stuff like that. It's not quite the same as pedestrian as the 2016 Suicide Squad was, where they literally had like these bulletins slaps up against the thing. It's like, dead shot, this way did, this is who he shot, this way he got, this is family, this is what it do. And it's like, it's like, all right, there's way too much fucking information. Let's see some things going on. And there is kind of like an expedited show don't tell sequence with Bloodsport. I gotta say, the stuff with his daughter, it's a little bit all right. I think it's the same daughter or the same young lady from Euphoria, the youngest daughter there. But anyways, that was my biggest problem with the majority of the movie, is that the editing in this was just throwing me off. And it's not like I can't take, that style of unsequential order of the narrative, but it's just like, it felt like unnecessary. What was that? What was it serving? So when the first team is taken out, Rick Flag is almost entirely wiped out by these military guys. But the second team shows up. And so this is comprising of Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Nanau, Polka Dot Man, and Rat Reacher 2 to enter the country undetected. And we get an entire entry with all of them and understanding who they are. After finding Flag at a base camp for rebel soldiers, the squad convinces the rebel leader Sol Soria to assist them. Meanwhile, Harley Quinn from the first team is taken prisoner by the Corto Maltese government, who are plotting to use Project Starfish against other nations. And so, I gotta say, the Corto Maltese government feels like the lower bad guy tiers for all of the Suicide Squad to just kind of take out until we get to the main bad guy. And I gotta say, the Maltese government was not my favorite part of this film. I gotta say, it was kind of the weaker points for me, and anything that wasn't involving them was like really, really good for me. Really good in my opinion, mostly because the relatability, I guess, the understanding of why they were doing all this, besides, world domination type stuff, it didn't feel like that, like they were fleshed out even a little bit. Like it didn't seem like there was no reason just to just obliterate everything and everyone in their path. Excuse me while I get a little bit of coffee in the system. And back to the action. Um, so, anyways, that the whole rebel soldiers plot line, the government stuff, that was the weak spot for me in this film, alongside the editing. Put that aside, I thought this movie was really funny. I thought it was going out on a limb. It was ballsy in a way that I don't feel like Marvel can even attempt to do at this point. It feels like they took some of the best parts of what they do or what they did in Deadpool and brought it over here with of everything regarding the rated R side of it. But yeah, so we get a little backstory between all of these characters and understanding that they're just ridiculous backstories, with Nanau basically being a big shark baby, Peacemaker doing anything and killing anyone he needs to do to get the peace, I guess. I don't know. Bloodsport basically is Deadshot from who was played by Will Smith last time. Polka Dot Man's got this like mother issue who's been like he's been tested on and stuff like that. I think the one thing you need to do with the formula of making someone or a superhero ridiculous is say that they've been tested on. So that's what they did with Rocket Raccoon in Marvel. Like he said, I'm sort of fucked up raccoon that's been tested on and now he can talk. It's like Polka Dot Man, some sort of fucked up dude that got tested on and now he throws up polka dots now. Yeah, it's just like some sort. I think he said it was like an interdimensional virus. It's like, is that a can I get that? Like, do you need to stay over there? I don't want to get that. It looks like a pain. When they start showing like the pains of being a superhero, that's always a little bit disturbing as well. So, Anyways, and then we have Ratcatcher 2, who is basically born with her dad, who with they had to stay low, and the rats had to protect them and stuff like that. It was, rats have rat lives matter too, apparently, or something like that. I don't remember. um, it was some weird stuff. Uh, After finding Flag at a base camp for rebel soldiers, where he's just chilling, we think that he's being tortured or something. It's not what's happening. He's just chilling. They are the rebel soldiers. I do gotta say, like the Pete Davidsons and everyone at the beginning. This is kind of me flashing back, like James Gunn did. I gotta say, I liked the intro with the Pete Davidson stuff. I liked Michael Rooker. I liked Weasel. I thought all that shit was hilarious. But the way they went out, it was like, holy shit, this is intense, and we're reminded real quickly this is rated R. So, anyways, back to the plot. Yeah, Harley Quinn's taken by the prisoner. For Harley Quinn from the first team is taken prisoner by Corto Maltese government, who are planning to use the Project Starfish against other nations. The squad accompanies the next captured. Sorry, accompanies their next objective of capturing the Thinker, a metahuman scientist in charge of Project Starfish, who has all these like things in his. While also joined by Harley, when she escapes the Corto Maltese government. I will say, like, her little intro or it's not even an intro, it's more like a side vignette with her falling in love with this, like presidential government guy. And I'm going to say some people are going to love this. I'm one of those people that enjoyed the escape of it, but I was like, this feels like a 5-minute segment that could have been taken out or relegated to something a little bit more uh, focused on the plot. I felt like it just felt like they put her to the side, had her like being tortured and stuff like that, has her being, you know, falling in love, and then having like this reaffirming moment of how abusive all her former exes have been and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know if we needed all that, but that was just me. This first hour, the first 20 minutes I enjoyed. For the 40 minutes after that, I was struggling, I'll be honest, and I was just like, this, it feels uneven, these bar scenes with having everybody, have be buddy all of a sudden. It feels a little bit rushed. It's a lot of characters you have to you have to deal with. Even from the first Suicide Squad 2016, they had a lot of characters they had to deal with, and in this one we have two separate teams we're almost reintroduced twice to. I gotta say that like over half the things that were in that disc. I mean, I know that it's the whole part of the U.S. is being involved in the possible Project Starfish, but it's like it's the fact that Star was brought to Earth by the American government and secretly funding him. But it's like Starro was revealed to the world at this point. So, I mean, they're probably going to get that information out anyway. Like, Waller's position's not exactly in the best. Just saying. Also, with the dark comedic humor at the beginning, having the entire team, you got the arm guy, his arms are just like at the beginning, and he's like, he's trying to like slap and destroy, take out the military guys. It's like, the military guys they're like, what the hell's going on? And I felt like that joke was like, what is going on? It's like, these are kind of ridiculous superheroes. I mean, you have Weasel that jumped out immediately from the aircraft and and drowns. And you're like, oh, fuck. Well, we find out that he's back at the very end. And I love that he's back. I know why they didn't keep him. I think the cost of doing that effect is super expensive. So there's probably a reason why they they did not want to have Weasel on screen all the time, especially with a Nanau. So yeah, with all these different characters, we have a wide range of ridiculous characters. This cast, this world of superheroes we have now it's abundant. We're hitting a level of a giant starfish conqueror is no longer weird. It just feels like we're expecting strangeness now. So let me know what you thought about the movie. Like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Thumbs up, subscribe, thumbs up. And LuckyDog Podcast, take it easy. Almost forgot the stinger scene. So Weasel lives. That's awesome. But the second stinger scene, which I hadn't even heard of and I didn't even realize, was that Peacemaker. So Peacemaker has a television show coming out on HBO, I believe, next year. And I believe it might be run under James Gunn as well. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Is that a... I'm gonna find that out real quick. But anyways, Peacemaker comes back. I had no idea that he was gonna come back. I thought he was dead for good, and they were gonna bring him back in some other fashion. But let me see. Okay, so Peacemaker, a spin-off television series starring Cena is set to debut in January 2022. And that is going to be created by James Gunn, it's written by James Gunn, and at least the first episode is going to be directed by Gunn as well. So it's going to have an interesting flair, I'll tell you that. Interesting that they have like this old school aesthetic of the poster on here, like a 50s looking style of the comic book of Peacemaker. But anyways, he is coming back, and I wanted to just mention that. Let me know what you thought about Suicide Squad. Let me know what you thought about Num Num. Let me know what you thought about the Suicide Squad in comparison to the old Suicide Squad. Let me know what the dealio is. Anything else? I think that we've covered just about all of it, and I'm trying to get it all out before wrapping it all up. But I think that's just about it. Yeah, just bring me some more King Shark, and I'll be happy. Take it easy, y'all.